Hey folks, welcome back to another edition of My Car Guru. I was just speculating what I would have said on my email back to Elon Musk if he had asked me what I did yesterday. I was just driving down the road and I was thinking about all the different things. It started pretty simple. I had to meet a customer early at the dealership yesterday, sold her a new Nissan Rogue. So that was the first act. I had an employee that I had to talk to because he was getting ready to retire. So I had to counsel him on some things that I think he needed to know about Social Security and so forth. Had another employee waiting to talk to me about doing a will. They had just had a baby, and they had heard me talking about, I don't know, it was in a meeting or whatever, but overheard me talking about my wife and I going to Knoxville to meet with our attorney to update our will. And he just wanted to talk to me. At my age, do I need a will? And I said, well, if you and your wife die, who do you want to determine who gets your new child? Gosh, family member, whoever we give our child to. I said, well, right now a judge is going to determine that. So do you think you need a will? Absolutely. So did that. Had a customer call me that has their vehicle broken down in our shop, and it needs an engine. And he's trying to figure out whether to put an engine in it or to trade it as is. Now, this was all before lunchtime, folks. Then at lunch, I pulled the Model A Ford out of the showroom. It hadn't been started in a while. And when I turned the ignition and hit the start button on the floor, it would not start. There's nothing. So I had to jump it off. I have my little jump box that I keep in my F-150. It's a little portable deal. I'd recommend everybody have one. I got it out and hooked it up, and it started right up. So I drove it home, and I wanted to see my wife. We were going to eat lunch there, and she said, I need to go to the store. And I said, okay, let's go. So we go outside, and I said, hop in. She said, we're taking that? It's the Model A. I said, yep. See, she knows me. She's used to that. She knows that I'm not kidding. So I took her to Publix in the Model A Ford and made several people's day when it's, driving through the parking lot and they look up and said, what year is it? And stuff like that. People just love it, but not as much as I do. Then I came back to the dealership, had a meeting with my daughter and one of my daughters and my nephew, Max, and we've decided to donate $1,000 every month to a different school in Greene County. So that was what that meeting was. And then I recorded a radio program. And then I went home. Do you think Elon Musk would have been satisfied with that if I worked for the federal government? Who knows? What'd you do yesterday? No, I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I'm just explaining why I can't retire. I'm 68 years old and I'm stuck. But I'm glad I'm stuck. It's a beautiful opportunity. I could understand that, it might be kind of fun to just be able to pick up at any time and just leave for 2 or 3 weeks. And I probably could. But I just want to continue to feel valuable. And, it's really not whether I feel valuable or not. It's whether I am valuable or not. And so far, those young'uns are saying that I'm still hanging in there. So I'm just going to keep on hanging in there and try to be semi-productive while I'm here. I was reading my automotive news I guess this is last week's edition. And there's an article here about Nissan saying, okay, people, it's time to come back to work. We're going to make you work at least 4 days a week. Whatever happened to 40 hours a week or 5 days a week? I mean, the pandemic screwed up a lot of things, didn't it? And I can understand why it's so difficult for a lot of people. Once they go home and get used to that degree of freedom that they have, it's just kind of hard to give it up. And it just also goes to show me, maybe it doesn't tell you this, but it tells me that, when people are at work, they get more work done. And when they're at home, they get more stuff unrelated to work unrelated to work done. Am I wrong about that? I mean, there's some jobs you can't do at home. If you're working at a factory, if you do anything, I guess, physical in a medical office or whatever, I mean, the only people that work at home are administrative people, right? Maybe if you're in sales, you could work at home to a certain degree. Up to a point, I think people like that personal face-to-face contact. You can't sell cars from home. People can buy cars from home, but you have to be in the field of action. I think it's beneficial. We never had that issue. I mean, I've got a guy right now that's wanting to go part-time, and he's very valuable. But I mean, when they go part-time, there's got to be a cut, right, as far as income is concerned, and some people aren't willing to give that up. This person is. A lot of their job is administrative. We're going to navigate that together because he's valuable. He still makes a difference in my business, and I want to make sure that he's happy. But the business has to be happy first. I mean, even if it's a small car dealership in Greenville, Tennessee, it doesn't matter. The business comes first. But if you don't put a lot of emphasis on your team and take care of them, there is no business. There's an old saying that says that, well, the customer comes first. And I've never agreed with that. I mean, don't get me wrong. They're important. They're vital. They're a vital part of making a business go. But you got to put your employees first and make them happy, because if you have unhappy employees, unfulfilled employees, people that are always looking for the next opportunity, you're not going to have happy customers. And so somebody wrote a book several years ago. Matter of fact, it's over in that bookcase somewhere. And the title of the book is The Customer Comes Second. And that's where I got this philosophy. So you may agree or disagree, but it has served me well over the short 46-year career that I've had. Okay, I'll be back in just 1 minute. Okay, I am back. Trying to navigate any business environment is a ongoing project. You never have everything figured out. You may think you have it figured out for a while, and it may work for a while, but you always have to have your head on a swivel and looking around and just making sure that you're staying, if not on the cutting edge, close to it. We have some challenges right now with pricing. There is no doubt about it. I'm talking about the industry as a whole. J.D. Power and Associates, which is a big marketing firm, they do a lot of analysis of the auto industry. They said that the average transaction price for automobiles has actually gone down a little bit since the record in 2022, during the pandemic. The average declined about $1,200 over the course of 2024, and it hit around $46,400 average selling price of vehicles. Now, monthly payments continue to go up, though. December marked the highest average loan payment ever. Ready for this? I always use $450 a month as an example, just because that's where my head is stuck in the 90s. Actually, the average loan payment is $756 a month. Of course, I guess rents have gone up, to a high level. I see a whole lot of apartments being built right now, especially in and around Johnson City. I never get to Kingsport or Bristol, but I know in Johnson City there's a huge number of apartments being built. You see a lot down in Knoxville as well. But, these high numbers are pushing young buyers pretty much out of the market. Consumers under 35 years old represented 17.6% of sales last year. That's about 3 percentage points lower than before the pandemic. So what are the automakers doing about this? Well, one of the things they're doing is increasing rebates. We're seeing that right now. I sold that Nissan Rogue that I sold yesterday. If you if you took the low financing rate of 2.39%, you got a $1,500 rebate. And if you didn't take it, the low financing that is, you got a $2,500 rebate. So we had to do some calculating with her just to figure out what was the best route. And she's not going to be financing it forever. I mean, she's just waiting on some CDs and stuff to come due. So anyway, that's the kind of stuff you need to balance out. And you need to figure out either on your kitchen table before you come to the dealership, or hopefully you're going to a dealership that is willing to sit in front of you, or the people there are willing to sit in front of you in front of a calculator or a computer and go through scenarios, different types of scenarios. She wanted to see it with, at the different rates, with different rebates, and with different amounts of down payment. And there's just a lot of salespeople and F&I people, they're in such a big hurry that they're not willing to sit down and really talk through this with somebody. And we are. That's just because my people at my dealerships understand what my expectations are. And we're not here to sell cars. I know that sounds weird, doesn't it? No, we're here to help people buy cars or lease cars and make good decisions doing it. How's that for a slogan? But that's what I believe in. So what are the manufacturers doing? Well, so far, General Motors and who else? Oh, yeah, Volkswagen. They've already found some success lowering prices. And basically, folks, what they're doing is they're decontenting vehicles. Do you know what that means? That means they're taking off content. They're eliminating standard features. They're simplifying their optional feature groups to make the cars more affordable. There may be some price cutting. When a vehicle has been manufactured for a lot of years, they can cut prices because they've been able to amortize the tools, the dies, all the different things that go into manufacturing a particular make and model, okay? So over time, those tools and everything get paid for. They're depreciated out. And so it costs less and less and less to manufacture a product. So typically, the difference just goes into profit. But see, now some of these companies are actually reducing prices in different ways. One of the ways you reduce prices is obvious. That's what a rebate is. That's a price reduction. Now, let's see, what did they do? The Tiguan. Your guess is as good as mine where that name came from. It's kind of like Stellantis. But yeah, the Tiguan, Wolfsburg edition, is they've cut the price on that $600. They've eliminated some trim. It's offered in only 4 exterior colors and comes with just 18-inch wheels. If you want 20-inch wheels, you're going to have to buy them in the aftermarket because these are only coming with 18-inch wheels. And really, that's a small wheel today. I remember back in the 70s, a big wheel was 15 inches. So, and they're all black leatherette interior. Isn't that just ridiculous? Just call it vinyl or naugahyde. I mean, leatherette. It's kind of like those commercials that, advertising jewelry. They'll say that, it's a 2-carat genuine diamel and that the ring itself is layered in a full 7 microns of genuine gold tone. In other words, the diamond is a useless rock, and they painted the ring gold. That's the way I feel about leatherette. But that's what they're doing. And I wish I could say that Ford and Nissan aren't doing the same thing. They have figured out how to make vinyl feel and look like leather. So maybe it behaves like leather, but I don't know. Ford is working to bolster its lineup with new affordable models, including a mid-size electric pickup truck in 2027. Whoopee! Until then, the company hopes to be shipping more lower price trims of current nameplates that will keep shoppers in the showroom. So I got an email from Ford yesterday suggesting how to order F-150s. And they have 3 different levels that they recommend. They're all part of this new package called an STX package. And plus, they're recommending that we get away from ordering the 3.5 EcoBoost engine and instead order it's still a V6, it's just smaller displacement, a 2.7 liter V6 engine. Most people would never know the difference, just drivability wise, unless you're towing something, and then you'll notice it. The towing capacity on the 2.7 isn't as great, but the 2.7 is a fantastic engine for the average person. So anyway, this the base model, or the cheapest STX package that they're recommending, starts at $43,910. Now that's a 4x2. A 4x4 would be $47,000, just a little over $47,000. You know, for a full-size truck, when you can actually buy like a Platinum, like my Platinum Power Boost F-150 is right at $80,000 MSRP. Huge difference. And, you know, the truth of the matter is, if all I had to choose from was this STX in 3 different packages, which they have 2 others that they recommend with a little bit more trim, a few more options. There's somebody arrived at my house. You know, I've got one of those Ring doorbells, and I've got it set to give me a warning every time somebody arrives. Sometimes it drives me nuts, but at least I know. Okay, so, you know, this is a good thing to look at. If you're thinking about going to a dealership to buy a new truck, let's say you're going to a Ford dealership, make sure you ask them, what are the alternatives to what you have out there on the lot in order to get the price down? Hopefully there's somebody that works at that store that knows the product line and knows the latest updates. Sometimes you have to go to the sales manager or the desk manager at the dealership. Quite frankly, a lot of salespeople are just ill-informed on what's truly available. You know why? Because they're instructed to sell what's there, what's out there on the lot. Now, thank goodness, we started ordering these STX packages months ago, so we already have quite a few in stock. But it is kind of a culture shock to some people. You know, when you're used to driving an F-150 or a Silverado or a Ram truck that has real cowhides in it and has one of those monster screens, and, you know, it has some other really unique features, heated seats, heated steering wheel, and all that stuff. When you get used to that, it's hard to dial back. But if you really think about it, though, and you think about how you're going to use your truck, how often you're going to use your truck, what are your true priorities, you can save a lot of money right there on the front end. And they're offering bigger incentives on these cheaper packages, bigger rebates. I mean, for example, if you want a Platinum truck, F-150, no rebate. If you want one of these trucks, $1,500. Plus, they offer low-rate financing. So it's definitely worth looking at. But hopefully, when you go to a dealership, especially a domestic dealership, a Stellantis, or to a Ford or a GM store, GMC as well, they have options that'll work just fine. And if you're willing to give up a few, you know, options that you can probably live without. I do love my heated steering wheel, though. I like my heated seats, too. I mean, it's really nice. But, you know, you can, well, I don't think you can get a heated steering wheel installed. But you can get heated seats installed. I think it's $300 per side. They do it down in Knoxville. There's lots of places, well, not a lot of places to do it, but there are some. They don't work exactly as good as the heated seats do from the factory, but they'll keep your buns warm, and that's what matters. Okay, I'll take my last break. I'll be back here in just a minute. Okay, I am back. I endorsed another business yesterday, and really, it was for no reason other than because I really enjoy their products. I'm an advocate, Colonel Littleton. And I had an email or a text message from a listener. Said, hey, I went to Colonel Littleton's website and ordered something. And I said, well, enjoy your free leather coaster, embossed leather coaster, and your moon pie. Because it doesn't matter what you order from them, you always get that. You know, it's those little touches that can really make a difference. But you know, the most important touches that a business can offer, in my mind, are the personal ones, are the ones where you actually demonstrate through your behavior that you give a rip, that you care, that, you know, your priority is the customer's priority. Yeah, you do need to put your employees first. if you're the owner of a business, because they're the ones that are going to get it done for you or not. And if you take care of them, and there have been periods of time where over my career that I had to learn this lesson the hard way because I just wasn't really staying in touch with my employees. I was spending too much time in my office. And I read another book, Management by Walking Around. That wasn't the name of the book, but that was the concept, basically. You learn a lot if you get out of your office and just walk around and talk to people. Talk to people that work for you. Take their temperature, not literally, but their emotional temperature, and find out how they're doing and interact with them on a personal level. I think one of the most important things that you can do, and I've probably got this licked about 75% of the way, you need to know their wives' names and husbands' names, and if you're really sharp, their kids' names and where they live and what they drive. Your team is only as good as the support and the encouragement that you give them. Well, thanks for listening to this edition of My Car Guru. If you need me for any reason, well, not any reason, 423-552-2020. Send me an email if you want to, Lenny Lawson, 2020 @gmail.com, and I'll see you next time.